Beast Wars Season 3, Episode 8, Go With The Flow. This is a really interesting episode because it actually focused on the kids, the human characters in this episode. It's another one where we get to see the kids. It really focuses on the girl, and they actually give them names. The girl's name is Una, and the boy's name is like... it's something. It rhymes with Gak, but it's not Gak. That's just all I can think of, and it's not Zach either. It's not a real name. Well, it might be, actually. But it's like they have names where they take a letter off. Like, the girl's name I felt like should be Luna, but her name was just Una. And then his was something. It was almost like if you read comic books and it's like Bam or something. It's like one of those words. And I was like, she has like an actual okay name, and his just sounds like, you know, Batman punched somebody. But he's not really that important in the episode. It starts off with the kids, Cheetor, and Rattrap. Like, Cheetor's with the kids, and he's teaching them. He's like, alright, you know, this is this. If you're going to attack, you know, Transformer, go for the hinges and stuff like that. And, you know, he's having fun with them, and he's kind of like teaching them a little class and everything. And Rattrap's there kind of just to, you know, back them up. And you really just be there for backup, really. So he's teaching this class and stuff, and he's like, you know, these are a couple of things I'm going to teach you about. And he's kind of just advancing mankind. And he's like, you know, this is the lever. So he like has a stick under a rock, and then of course another rock under the stick, and he pulls it, and he's like, you know, that's a lever. And so the kids kind of repeat that, and then he's like, you know, this is a pulley, and he, you know, he has like a bunch of vines tied to a rock over a tree branch, and he pulls it up and stuff. He dropped it, or it snapped and it crushed his foot, so he was jumping around and stuff. But the kids are like, you know, they're actually saying the words. So he's teaching these kids, you know, actual, you know, real life stuff, and how to actually defend themselves and just random things in the world. And the Predacons are making like this giant, crazy freaking laser beam. It looks like a railgun, actually. And they're making this giant laser that's so dangerous that they can barely even work on it. Like, they like put some of the parts together, and then this is like the first scene with the Predacons, and it's all of them together. They're putting like a couple of pieces on this thing, and it like charges up a little, and it almost fries all of them. Like, they go through like this crazy situation where they all get like electrified. So it's like, we need to get some of these humans. Like, we can set this up for the most part, but we need, you know, an actual human creature to set this thing off so we can actually shoot it, you know, at the maximal base and destroy them. As well as the arc, it will like hit the whole thing and just ruin everybody's day. So, you know, they have this going on, and Tarantulas is like, I think I might have, you know, the creatures that you're looking for, because he has his little spider bots, you know, kind of just all over the random, for whatever reason. There were like a couple of them like in the jungle, so he knows kind of what's going on with Rattrap and Cheetor and the kids. So they send some out there. They send Waspinator and Inferno out. They actually end up getting the little girl. They actually end up taking Una, and she's flying to the base. You know, Waspinator's flying to the base carrying her, and they had a really funny scene because Waspinator's whole thing is that he always gets beat up or always gets destroyed, and they had it where Una was, you know, being taken, and she had to stick and stuff. Like when Cheetor was first like, you, if you're gonna attack a Transformer, then go for the hinges. And she was the one she was just like hitting his leg, you know, kind of learning. And when she was flying, I thought it was going to be a totally different scene, but she was just like knocking Waspinator's legs off, and it was actually really funny. She's like, you know, she's saying the word, she's like, hinges, and she's like hitting his legs, and his legs are just dropping off. And they did a really funny scene. It's really messed up how they treat Waspinator, but Waspinator calls in a Megatron. He's like, we have an emergency, and he's like, you know, what's happening? Like, is the girl in danger? And, you know, is she hurt? And he's like, no, she's hurting Waspinator. And he's like, oh, so business as usual. All right, just bring her in. Don't drop her. I was like, man, that's really messed up. Like, I know he gets blown up all the time, but for Megatron to even make that joke and be like, oh, then business as usual, whatever, that was just really funny to me. So, of course, nothing really happens. I thought she was going to fall because I thought she'd hit both of his, or I guess both the arms that he was using to hold her, and then it would be a crazy thing where he'd have to, like, dive and catch her in the water or something. But he just, like, flipped over and flew upside down, and, you know, they got her in there. So, they have a really awesome scene when she first gets in there, and they're having her build the rest of the machine because it's starting to go a little crazy on them, and it keeps messing with everybody. So they have, it's almost like blast-proof glass, like when people do experiments where they blow stuff up. So they're behind these like little glass plates, and they have Una kind of putting the machine together, and that like she has to put the plates on and screw them in with the wrench. And it was probably one of my favorite scenes they've had with Megatron, because he was getting so pissed off at this little kid. And he's like, okay, take the plate and put it on the turbine. And she's like, she's repeating his, his words. And he's like, plate. And he's like, yes, like that right there. Just put it up. Just put it on the turbine. And he was getting super pissed. And if this was an adult show, he would have swore. And it was so funny though. But he was getting really mad. And he's like, all right, so it's on there. Use the wrench and just fasten it in. And she was repeating. She was like, wrench? And I don't know where she got a bone from, but she just had a bone in her hand for some reason. She's like, wrench? She's like, no, like the wrench, like just that thing right there. And she's like, wrench. It's like, yes, just fasten the bolts in. And of course she just like hit the freaking bolts and like bent them in, but they stayed. And he's like, he was just so pissed off. He was like, whatever. And he just put his head down and he was done. But she puts all the stuff up. And he's like, okay, everything's good. Just put the little chip. Yeah, there's like a crystal inside of it was basically like a motherboard chip is what it looked like, but it had an actual crystal in it. It's like, all right, just lift these panels, put the thing in there, everything's good. It was like the final piece that they needed. So he's looking at her and he's like, just lift it up. And he didn't have to repeat a bunch of times, but so she puts the piece in. He's like, finally, everything is done. This whole time, Rattrap has to get back to the kids because Cheetor got messed up. So Cheetor wasn't able to go. Rattrap is trying to find the girl, and he actually runs into Depth Charge. So they go out, have a whole crazy battle. Like they run into them, and they have a crazy little battle. Depth Charge gets messed up. He's flying Rattrap, and excuse me, they do like a little test, and they knock them out of the sky before they're able to get to the actual tunnel with the railgun. So they fall. Depth Charge is like completely immobilized. Like he can't move whatsoever. Rattrap is like, all right, you stay here. He says something about, because he was like, it seemed like he was like stuck in a tree. And Rattrap was like, I can't pull you out because you'll be left as bait for the flyers or whatever. So I guess it was because he was like stuck in the tree. They wouldn't have been able to sense him or something like that. They didn't really explain it, but that's just kind of what I felt. I was like, I guess he means they can't sense him because he's trapped in this tree or something. So he leaves Depth Charge there, who just seriously can't move. He's just on his back, and he's stuck there. So Rattrap eventually goes in. He gets the girl, and they have, once again, crazy battle. He goes in. He's actually able to rescue her, and they take off. But Megatron is like, well, you know what? We get the girl back, but we don't really need her now because she finally, fixed the machine. So it's like, all right, because they had a whole thing when Rattrap came in there. If it weren't for the fact that he was destroying stuff, Una wouldn't have destroyed something else either. So she messed up like a random thing, and she used kind of the leopard trick. So she pushed this thing over on Tarantulas, crushed him, and Rattrap was able to take her out. So it was like, crap, she fixed the whole thing, but now we have to set this, this minute little piece back to, back up and everything. So they aren't able to shoot the railgun a second time right after she gets rescued, so that gives them enough time to get to Depth Charge. They pull him out of the tree. They basically slide into the water. He transforms, but then he's like, I still can't move. Like, he transformed, and Rattrap was thinking, like, all right, let's go. And he's just like, yeah, I still can't move. So they basically had to use him as a boat, and Rattrap has to, like, shoot the flyers out of the air, as, of course, they end up going towards the waterfall. So they fall over. They go over the waterfall. Naturally, they end up surviving as well. And it's like, whoo, that was super close. They're still being attacked. But then Megatron is like, everyone basically returned because now we've got everything set up. And Rattrap and Depth Charge just so happen to be in the exact line of fire as the Maximal base. So they'll just shoot this basically railgun over them and it'll still affect them. So this alarm goes off at the Maximal base, and we get to see everybody else. They're freaking out and it's like, set up the defenses. I don't know how this alarm went off before they even were shooting the gun. I guess it could just sense it was too, a weird source of energy or whatever. So they're freaking out and stuff, and it seems like there's nothing they can do. It's like, we're pretty much screwed. Rattrap tells Una, like, you won't be hurt by the actual laser, but you might be wounded by our exploding body, so you should probably get out of here. So it seems like all is lost. They're charging up this weapon. It's about to fire overhead, so they're going to get affected. The base is going to get affected. Megatron would effectively destroy, all both the Autobots as well as the Decepticons with this ray as well. Or maybe it was only supposed to destroy the Maximals. I'm not sure. I just assumed because of how powerful it was, it would have just destroyed everybody, which probably would have killed them too. Or at least would have knocked them out. I don't know. But Rattrap mentioned their bodies exploding. But this whole thing's charging up. And it's like, we're finally about to get the Maximals. And then it doesn't fire. And like they had this little thing where you could see the energy kind of going through this giant cable up to the weapon. And then the energy kind of just drained right back out. And it blew up backwards. And it hit all of them. And the whole mountain exploded. And it turns out that Una didn't put that little crystal stabilizer thing in there. And she was like, Una pretty. And she just put it in her hair. And it's like, oh, everything's cool. Because they were about to get killed. Like, if she didn't keep that thing for herself, they would have been decimated. And that's the only reason they lived. It's because she thought it looked pretty. The crystal was pretty to her. So she ends up saving all the Maximals, technically, because of that. And the Predacons, once again, the weapon was supposed to kill them. It's just like in the first season where I think it was with Rhinox or something. It was supposed to be like, a bomb that blew him up, but when it blew up at the base, it was just silly and he farted on them and everybody lived. So it's this whole thing where it's like, oh, it's gonna kill the Maximals and all this, and then it backfires and blows up the whole mountain. But of course they didn't die because they're gonna, I know they're gonna be in the next episode. Otherwise the series would be over. So it was one of those things where it's like this devastating weapon. And then it backfires. It literally explodes. And I'm sure they're going to be fine. I'm sure they're going to be in the very next episode. Like, that sucked. They probably won't even mention it because of the type of show it is. It happened and then it's in the past. But it was still a really fun episode. And I love that Megatron scene. Honestly, if you can find it online, I highly recommend checking it out. Because Megatron yelling at Una, like I said, honestly, I think that's one of my favorite Megatron moments in the entire series. And this is basically towards the end of this series. This is the first episode of the last disc. I have 6 episodes left, and then I'm done with the entire series. And this was my favorite moment, like at least comedic moment. It might be my favorite overall, but he's had some, of course, some really cool badass moments. But this was just so funny because he was getting so mad at her, and it's like, man, it's just like a normal person with a kid that just won't listen or isn't paying attention, or just doesn't know in general. It's like, I'm trying to be nice because you're a kid. And Megatron doesn't even care to be nice, but it was so funny to me, and I just love that scene. But overall, it's definitely a fun episode. Una, inadvertently saved everybody's lives just because she liked that crystal. But fun episode. Nice getting to see Rattrap, go in, do his thing, and kind of just keep surviving. Like, that dude just always survives. He always has like the cool shots and stuff like that. He's diving and rolling and flipping and everything. Almost got destroyed in this episode because there wasn't much they could do except for just sit on depth charge as he's in his manta form, like, yeah, I can't move. And, they survived the waterfall and everything, but he still had a couple of moments, and it was definitely enjoyable. I really liked it. But of course, if you guys have any comments on this episode, please put them down in the comment section below. Of course, if you guys have any comments on anything Transformers based, you can put them in the comments below as well. And of course, thanks for watching.